Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can make your savings or your investment go further, potentially 10xing it, whether you're a small business or sole proprietor that's taken EIDL grants or loans, or you have W-2 income and you want to put that to work for you. I'm going to talk about two main ways to make it happen. If you want your funding to go further, watch this quick video. Thanks so much for tuning in and your support. You know, according to the SBA, there are 31.7 million small businesses in the US, and 81% of these have no employees, single-person businesses. The majority of those are sole proprietorships. Here's another look at some of the data. This is from 2017. You can see here the breakdown between sole proprietorship, which again is around 9 out of 10 small businesses, partnerships, S corporations, C corporations are all much smaller. Those three making up around 10% combined. So if you fall in one of those buckets, here's the first way to make your money go further, especially if you are getting EIDL loans. You know, there's still $150 billion left in the EIDL pot of money. And thanks to the brand new EIDL rules, you can use those loans 3.75% to pay off other business debt. That's huge. And that's always a great rule of thumb to pay off existing debts if you have a choice between investing or paying off debts. And this is true if you're an individual or a business. It's nearly always better to pay off your debts first. Why? Because your interest rates are most certainly higher than any return on investment you'll get. Here's a list of the average credit card interest rates, otherwise known as the APR. This is from last week. The national average is 16.22%. Here we see low interest credit card is 13%, business credit card 14%, rewards and airline credit cards around 16%. Again, this is how credit card companies make their money. If you have bad credit, you could be talking about 25% interest rates on your credit cards. And that debt is compounding, again, whether it's for yourself or for your small business. So if you are using a business credit card and carrying balances, or you have other lines of credit that you've drawn on that you haven't paid off, and maybe better interest rates, maybe closer to 10%, it's still compounding and affecting you. So the best thing you can do, wherever you're at in the EIDL queue, whether you've gotten some funding or you're going for an increase or reconsideration, is to pay off that debt first. You know, if you have a business credit card now, let's say it's around 20% interest rate, you take your EIDL loan, which is 3.75%, and you use that to pay off that business debt, that's a 5x improvement on interest rates. You've gone from 20% interest rates down to less than 4%. And that's something immediately you can do. So think about that for a minute. Do you have any business debt? Or even if you're a sole proprietor, I hope at the very least you have a business bank account. You're separating business expenses from personal expenses. That would be the first step for all of this funding, to keep everything very clear. What's for business, what's for personal, because the SBA, the IRS, they will be looking into these programs for years and years to come. You know, there's been rampant fraud, misuse of funds totaling the billions of dollars in the last year and a half. So make sure it makes sense. When in doubt, you should talk to your accountant. But think about that right away. You can strengthen your cash position by 5x and get rid of that bad debt and have it be SBA-backed EIDL loans. No, these aren't grants like the RRF or the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. I just did a quick RRF look up here for restaurants in Los Angeles that received grants. They don't have to pay these back. This one right here, Start LA Incorporated, got a $305,000 grant through the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Matea's Restaurant, $250,000. Popped Up, $222,000. So many restaurants here got substantial grants. You know, if you're curious which restaurants near you got grants to support their businesses, you can go to helloskip.com/RRF-data. I'll leave the link right below. Type in your city name. There's no doubt you'll see a restaurant that you know about that received grants. Again, this is largely a positive thing, but the downside is so many restaurants were left out completely of grants, so they're left to other programs. Thankfully, the EIDL program exists, despite the often slow nature of approvals or reconsiderations. Things are moving there, but that's the number one tip. Evaluate your business debt, whether it's credit cards, loans, lines of credit, and calculate what you can potentially pay off if you can get an EIDL loan or an EIDL loan increase. 2, in some some cases improve on your interest rates by 5x. Number two, how can you potentially 10x your income? Can you 10x EIDL funding? The answer is yes. Here's how. There's a 50-20-30 budget rule. Basically, this is a guide so you can understand how much of your income you should put towards needs versus wants versus savings and investment. And the 50-30-20, 50% should go to your needs, such as mortgage, minimum debt payments, healthcare, groceries, 30% wants, and 20% savings, which includes investments, IRA contributions. Some people with a higher risk appetite may decide to put more money, may decide to put 30% towards savings and investments. Now, you can't directly take that EIDL money and put it towards your personal investments, but of course, you can use EIDL loans for payroll to pay your employees, or if you're one of the 90% of businesses that are only one-person businesses, aka non-employers, to pay yourself, to pay other business expenses, or to pay off debt. Actually, let me pull up this. We did this poll a day ago. What do you plan on using EIDL loans and grants for the most? 16% said for business payroll, 59% said for business rent or other expenses, 25% said for paying off other business debt. Again, that was my first point. 25% of you are already going after that, trying to improve your business debt position by 5x. By the way, lots of great comments here. If you hit subscribe and turn on the alerts, you'll see when we put up polls, you can weigh in here. If you want to chime in here, just hit subscribe. So let's say, for example, you make $50,000 per year and you're paying your salary in part from the EIDL loan. And of course, hopefully you're making money from your business. But let's say you've used the EIDL loans to help pay salaries, including your salary. Now, $50,000 is higher than the national average. I think the average salary US wide is around $35,000, maybe a little less. Let's pick $50,000 and you put 30% of that towards savings and investment. In that case, it would be $15,000 every year you're putting towards savings or investment. Even if you take the lower end of that, that's $10,000 a year you're putting towards savings and investment. Well, the natural question is then, what should you put your money towards? How much in traditional savings versus the stock market versus crypto? So two examples on crypto, and this is extreme, and I will caveat all of this in a minute. And by the way, this is not advice, and I'm not saying you should go do this at all. Just to keep in mind, if you invested in Bitcoin a year ago, when it was $10,000, it's now 5x to around $50,000. Or let's say you invested in Ethereum a year ago when it was around $300, it's now 10x to $3,300. So we know these are high growth, but also highly risky. So a question I hear all the time is, if I want to invest in crypto, should I do it? If I'm just getting started, how much should I put in crypto versus other things? But when you're thinking about, okay, I'm getting $50,000 per year, I'm using some government funding, let's say the EIDL loans to help pay for my salary and other salaries. Now, where should I put the money to work? Well, traditional savings accounts are only like 0.05% interest rates, basically nothing there. The stock market annual returns have been around 10% over the past couple decades, and crypto has been astronomical. So the question is how to allocate. So 5 financial advisors weighed in on how much of your savings or your net worth you should put towards crypto. Here's one that says 2 to 5% of your net worth. Another financial advisor says 1 to 4%. Another one up to 1% of your assets. Here's 3% of total liquid assets, and another says 1 to 2%. So bottom line, they're talking about very, very low risk here. 1 to 2 to 3% of your portfolio, of your investable cash, you could put towards these potentially high return but highly speculative and risky assets. If you want to learn more about these, it's a great way to get skin in the game, put money aside, and just learn about it. We're not talking about a lot, but if you're thinking, okay, I'm getting EIDL funding in, I'm paying off business debts, number one. Number two, I'm thinking about where I can invest my earnings. So in the example I gave, you're putting $15,000 a year towards savings and investment. 5% of that is $750 a year. So let's round up to $1,000 and say you might put $1,000 a year into this. $1,000 a year just to get in the game and start learning. I'd love to hear in the comments, number one, are you paying off business debt at the moment with some of these lower interest loans, specifically EIDL loans? And number two, what are you investing in? I know we already get a lot of spammers coming in and saying they invested in Bitcoin. They're so happy with the returns. So here's an invitation for the rest of you to chime in on your strategies. How are you thinking about this now? And if you are investing in crypto, would love to know. And what percent of your investment portfolio is going towards these higher risk, high return assets? More big news coming up on SBA funding and some other funding partners I'll be announcing next week. Most importantly, give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and if you want help getting EIDL loans, whether it's a first-time loan, an increase, or reconsideration, go to eidl.me, that's eidl.me, link right below to get in line for one-on-one help. We'll talk you through the entire process. Most importantly, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you tomorrow.